We are back on Speed Street, post 500 Speed Street, and the first edition of Speed Street under the Dirty Mo Media umbrella, the Dirty Mo family. Joey Mulinaro, Conor, Daly, producer Ben here with us. And we are so freaking excited to be here. I know the announcement came out earlier this week. It came out way earlier this week when old Dale Jr., our boss, now decided he wanted to tweet when Conor was doing so well in the 500, and we thank him for that. But we are here. This is Speed Street, bringing IndyCar to Dirty Mo Media. Again, I'm Joey Mulinaro, and I got my buddy Conor Daly with me. How you doing, my man?
Well, it's a very exciting announcement for sure. I mean, I think when I saw Dale put it on the internet, one of the first tweets that I saw when I got out of the race car was that one. And I said, well, did I miss something? Was I supposed to tweet out this before the race, or what was happening? So, good for Dale for, getting the news out there. But it's very cool. I mean, I think this is a great opportunity for us. Obviously a lot of a new audience. I've already received a lot of tweets from people, learning about kind of what we've been talking about, IndyCar. But I mean, also, if you're just now listening to this is your first episode. I mean, we cover everything. We love motorsport in general. Joey himself is a newer motorsport fan. I've been lucky enough to drive everything from a Formula One car to a NASCAR truck. So I feel like, we try to paint good pictures here, and there's a lot of pictures to paint after the Indy 500. There was a lot that went on. The Charlotte Cup race, it seemed like it was 7 hours long. I text Chase Briscoe after the race and asked if he was racing for 8 hours, and he said he believes it was 6, which was a lot. So, there was a ton that happened over the weekend. We're kind of going to get to it all, but also make sure that, we get you deeper than the surface level. We're going to go deeper than who finished 5th and 6th. You know what I mean? So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a nice ride. We appreciate being here.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's insane. The fact that not even a year ago, me and Conor were texting about this, went to Old Livery, downtown Indianapolis, tried to put a plan together, started recording shows, didn't really know what it was or what it was even called. But this was always the goal, was to have an opportunity like this to get noticed by a place like Dirty Mo Media. And so I know we can't be any more thrilled than we are to be here. We'll come out with a show about every week, about an hour long. Like Conor said, talking motorsports, talking all things, talking what's going on in the culture, having fun. Just being a good outlet for you to enjoy some racing talk and have some laughs, hopefully. So while you're here, be sure to subscribe. I saw we were going up. Hey, round of applause. We were going up the top 30 chart already in sports. Mike sent that over. So that's fantastic. Thanks to you. And we're trying to get that going up. We always talk about for the newcomers. We say, look, we're trying to grow Speed Street into a neighborhood, into a cul-de-sac. And you guys are doing that right now. So Speed Street continues to grow and will continue to grow if you guys subscribe, leave us a rating, a review, some ideas of things you want us to talk about. And be sure to follow us on social at Speed Street Pod, both on Twitter and on Instagram. So with that being said, let's get into it, brother. The Indy 500, the greatest spectacle in racing, goes down this past weekend. You have what I think was a really good day. What did you think of your day finishing 6th there?
Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, it was we knew it was going to be tough. Obviously, we started 18th. We started a little bit worse last year, but ended up towards the front through a lucky pit cycle. And we definitely, there was luck involved for sure with our transfer to the front. But we also passed a few cars. So, that's what matters as well. We passed cars when we needed to. Every restart, we were making our way forward. We rotated to 12 first, then passed Grosjean and a couple other guys, and then got another good yellow and rotated to second. And then once we got to second, it was still only about halfway. And so there was a lot of race to go. And honestly, just to be able to stay there most of the time with Dixon and Pato O'Ward and Felix Rosenquist was awesome. I mean, the team did a great job keeping us there. We were trying to adjust the car. The cars were really difficult to drive. That's one thing I will say. I think we saw a lot of single car accidents at the Speedway, which we haven't seen in a long time. I first remember the single car accidents when we kind of had to go back to the new, we went away from the Aero Kit era, and it was quite difficult. In the first year of the Aero screen as well, There were a couple single car accidents because the car balance right now, we have to be right on the limit to get the speed out of it. It's a little bit of an entry loose, mid corner tight for anyone who's in the NASCAR scene, but for us, we call it understeer. But there's a lot of balance issues that we have to fight, which is part of our sport. But yeah, it just goes to show you. I mean, you had really experienced guys: Rinus VeeKay, Jimmy Johnson, Roman Grosjean. Callum Ilot's a rookie, but all those guys are very, very talented drivers, and the cars just stepped out on them. So very, very.
Why were they all turn two? What was up with turn two? I mean, besides Scott McLaughlin.
Yeah, massive tailwind. Yeah, there was a big tailwind down into three, which again got McLaughlin as well, because the tailwind pushes you into three. And it pushes you out of two. So when we caught that tailwind, it basically lifts the rear of the car and makes the car loose almost. And that's just kind of what we saw. So Scott McLaughlin as well, he felt the same thing, because in three you had to lift anticipating, the wind there also. So it was a very interesting scene. But our car, we just got better and better. Slowly but surely, we're working our way forward. And then we just stayed there. And I think, honestly, I don't know if we had the overall speed to win. I would say we were a top three car. I would say if we, if everything cycled through on the last pit stop and we didn't lose any time, we probably would have finished, I would say second or third, because Pato was fast and the Ganassi cars were ungodly fast. So, it was going to be tough to beat, a Ganassi in a straight up fight. But yeah, there was just so much that went on. There was such an interesting fight between the engine manufacturers as well. But yeah, I mean, to lead the race again, to get out front, to work with guys like Scott, it was a lot of fun. So it was a lot more stressful of a race than last year, even though it might not seem like that. But yeah, we made it all the way to the end, and to finish sixth, a little bit upset about it because I wanted to beat Alex Rossi. And I think we could have, but he drove a great race as well. And
how much of that wanting to beat him was, I guess you didn't know at the time that he and Sage Karam were the two pranksters that got your hot tub.
Yeah, we did not know at the time. And it's Alex and I have had a really odd year. We finished right in front of each other in like 4 races so far this year. And it wasn't always in great positions. Like, he was 20th and I was 21st in St. Petersburg. And we were, 5th and 7th or something in the Indy GP. It was like, we've always been quite close to each other. And now in points, he's 11th and I'm 12th in points. So, we've always found a way to end up, near each other. And yeah, I always just want to beat him though, because, he's like a rival. He's like one of my best friends, but I think he's very talented. So you want to beat the guys that you think are very talented. And yeah, we didn't today or yesterday or whenever, Sunday. I lost so much memory over the last few weeks. I have no idea what day it is.
Understandable. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great race, great event. I mean, the energy was high. I know you were there, probably housing Miller Lights, but it seemed like the energy was high. And I mean, what did you think from your standpoint?
The energy it was great. You could feel, even with the crowd being back in 2021, you definitely could feel that it was full on, full throttle, everything's a go in 2022, which was fantastic. A little bit of a bummer in some ways because, like I said, on the Dale Jr. download, I was standing in the concession stand line for 40 minutes while Conor Daly was leading most of the time. So I didn't get to see too many of those, brother, but I was cheering and watching along. It was very emotional. The flyovers were very emotional. I don't know if it's just because I have a son on the way and I'm just thinking about all these different things in my life, but back home again in Indiana's playing, I'm just crying like an old man who's been going to the race for 50 years.
Man, I was crying too. Day. I was crying too. Don't worry. I had tears weeping down my face. The Thunderbirds, U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds were flying over, and it was like the perfect moment of when the guy who was singing the national anthem was like "Land of the Free" and I was like, it was the perfect sequence. And then of course I was already in the car for back home again in Indiana, and then the Air Force guys fly over again, and I could feel it in the car. Like, we were strapped in and you could feel the thrust in the car, and that was just like, it's just the greatest event ever. I mean, it's the most iconic thing I've ever seen. The amount of people, I mean, it never gets old. Like, every year I feel that way. And I always tell people, if you have not been to this race, like it's something that is, it's so majestic. It's like almost like you're in a whole different world for one day. You know, the weather was beautiful. The sun's up. You got incredible fighter planes flying over, musical artists that are making, you know, absolute magic happen all around the course, in turn 3, on the front straight, everywhere. I mean, yeah, I was glad it was back. I mean, even on my helmet, it said "we're back," and so I was just glad to see everyone. Everyone was finally back at the track, having a great time. And a lot of
Aoki.
Huh?
How was Aoki?
Steve Aoki was great. I got to go to the snake pit for 30 minutes. This is my pre-race tradition. Took a golf cart ride with one of the photographers of IndyCar, Chris Owens, and we go over from like 9:50 to 10:20 a.m. And you know, I have a pre-race strategy meeting at 10:30, and then we have the driver intros around like 11:30. So it fits in quite nicely. And we drove straight backstage, and walked right up onto the stage with Steve Aoki. And let me tell you, when you're wearing a race suit at the snake pit, somehow they just let you go anywhere. And I really respect that. So I just kept going. I had a few friends over there. The people who actually produced the snake pit, Schroeder Productions, Chris Schroeder and Ashley Brown, they're like really incredible people. And I've known them for a long time. And they know how special the Indy 500 is. They love the snake pit. And so do all the artists. Steve Aoki even put on Instagram, he's like, this is the craziest 9 a.m. party in the entire world. And he's not wrong. Like, it's what was going on in the snake pit is truly outstanding. And so we went there, got up on the stage, danced around a little bit, looked like a clown because I have no rhythm at all in my jumping.
Oh, you were dancing? You were grooving?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got up there. I was pumping my helmet, fist pumping it for about 10 to 15 seconds. I think it was Smells Like Teen Spirit was on. And that was what we were ripping to. So it was great.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Then Steve came back from the snake pit out there with you, and he was doing the DJ for the driver introductions. That was phenomenal.
One of the funniest things I think I've ever seen was one of this like worldwide known artist, Steve Aoki, on a tiny little like box TV screen stage that was actually like pretty cool. But it looked like it was going to play like a children's daycare center. Like, it was a very small setup. And I was like, and not many people are really paying attention to him. And I got to give it to him. He was selling it. He had his hands up in the air. He was doing all this stuff. And I'm sitting next to J.R. Hildebrand. I was like, is this not the wildest thing you've ever seen? Like, we're walking 3x3 up onto this stage, and we got Steve Aoki just dropping, you know, hits from 2012 and like, you know, bangers only. And it was no lyrics, but just music. It was really, really funny. And I'm not going to lie. I took a selfie with me and Sage Karam. We're up on the stage, and I said, Sage, there's no way we don't just take a selfie here with Steve playing behind us on this tiny little turntable setup. And had to snap a few pics. And Steve was awesome. I'm not sure if he really knew what was going on during driver intros, but I respect him for it, because I saw him afterwards when we were all running to the restroom. And he was like, man, that was so cool. I said, you know what? Great to see you, man. I got to go pee.
Hey, that's a true pro right there, Steve. He's getting a little box to operate on. He doesn't know what's going on, but he's selling it hardcore. And we appreciate his efforts. Now, you're up there with Sage, and you mentioned Rossi already. And we're going to go a little bit after the 500 now. And it comes out that Alex Rossi, snake in the grass, snakes in the field with Rossi and Karam, two of your great friends. They're behind the prank. Were you shocked? What was your immediate reaction for them wrecking your hot tub for the month of May?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of talk of this hot tub, and sadly it's now stinking up my garage because, well, the bus lot, there's a lot of nice fancy trees that are behind the motorhomes, and they were raining like tree debris, pollen, or whatever comes off the leaves. And you know, and obviously before that, it was filled with apparently 1.75 million Orbeez, which are, you know, water balls essentially. And so, yes, I didn't know who it was. There's a lot of suspects, and realistically, they did it correctly, because when I discovered it, you know, Alex and I had been together the night before doing an event, so it was hard to think it was him. And he also said that they did it at like 7:30 in the morning the next day. And I was like, well, that's the day. It's like daylight. And so it doesn't sound like much thought went into the execution of it. because if let's say I got up early, maybe I had a nice little walk around the bus, would have easily discovered it, but I obviously did not. And yeah, they did a great job. I wish they would have done it slightly later in the week. It's pretty frustrating that I had to sit there the whole time and not be able to use my hot tub. But yeah, I mean, I had no idea that these devils wearing onesies up on the race entryway were had attacked me earlier in the week. So I'm glad I know now, though. I'm glad I know now. I'm glad someone admitted to it, because realistically, that's what people were asking me more than the race, more than anything. It's like, oh, did you find out who ruined your hot tub? And I was like, well, no. Like if I knew, you all would know. And so thankfully, Alex, let the people know right after we got off the stage of the banquet. That was the funniest part, actually, is like he could have announced it at the banquet. Like we had this big victory banquet on Monday night.
Yeah.
I finished sixth. He finished fifth. So like I get up to speak right before him, and it was a big hot tub discussion. They played a video that was like, investigating it. And sure enough, he didn't even mention it in his speech, but he put it on Twitter. The reason why I think he didn't mention it during his speech is because I think alcohol had played its way into his day. And I think Alex had a couple beverages during the day. Maybe he didn't want to mess up the delivery of the speech. And he Uber Eats $100 worth of Taco Bell to a fancy dinner banquet. So Alex is clearly on a different level. And I respect that he, just let it fly on the internet. And I wish he would have said it in real life, but it is what it is.
You know what pissed me off, man, is that so Rossi did a fantastic job of having the alibi, covering himself. Like you said, we all were together that night that was in question at the greatest spectacle in podcasting. And so I talked with him on camera, off camera. No, man, not me. No, I was there. I was with you. Got it. But then I talked to Sage Karam on media day. And Sage Karam, I was talking to him about his month. He's like, oh, I'm staying at Rossi's. I'm not staying in the bus lot. So that would, and you're at first would think that you would say that would clear him, right? Because he's not around, not in the bus lot. But I should have realized these two together, their ladies are together. They have a 4-person mastermind plan and a place to house all the Orbeez. I was so pissed at myself that I didn't realize it when he said, oh, no, I've been staying at Rossi's. He got us.
They're hiding in plain sight, right? Like it's the most obvious option, but you're like, no, I don't think that happened. So, kudos to them. And, I know Sage is already watching his back. There are several things we looked up during the month for retribution. And, it turns out you can rent a flock of pigeons, which might come in handy. It's not hard to build a petting zoo either. That apparently we have folks that are able to do that. Obviously, we respect animals. We want to treat them very well. But you know what? These things are all possibilities, and you never know what could happen. There are many ideas that come through my head, and there are many ideas that I won't list because we want to keep those in the chamber. But just know that, retribution will come. It will be swift. It will be, potentially aggressive, but we'll see what happens.
We might have to enroll Marco because they're Nazareth, PA boys. They're out there. They're neighbors. So we might have to see if we can get our own snake in the grass with Marco to be able to help get back because we don't got boots on the ground out there in PA. So I don't know. Just an idea.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to the race though. And we hadn't started this last year at the time when you were leading the most laps of the 500. But when you passed Scott Dixon, and I know you guys were exchanging back and forth, the lead, safe fuel. So you're learning from that experience last year. But when you're in the car and you're leading and you got a good car and you're setting yourself up, maybe a lap 110, 112 or whatever, is there any time in your head where you're like, I think I'm going to win this thing? Like, I think I'm going to be drinking the milk, or is it just too much going on? You're listening to your spotters. You're talking over the radio.
I think honestly, it's really just, I want the race to be over. When you're in that position, you're like, why isn't this lap 198? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's really, I think, where patience comes in. It's one thing that Juan Pablo Montoya told me in 2017 after I crashed. because I probably tried to make too aggressive of a move early on. And he was like, man, you're really fast, but you just got to be patient. Like, and that's, again, you see Montoya all day long. Probably no one mentioned him once. The guy finishes 11th. He started like last, and like he finishes almost in the top 10 again. And last year he was in the top 10. And the way he talks about it is really interesting. It's very much a game of patience, and I feel like that's kind of what I really focused on, from mid-race on. It was just one lap at a time, being smooth, focusing on getting to the next pit stop. Every now and then, some of the sets of tires were vibrating so bad at the end of the stint that I couldn't feel my hands anymore. But it was like, all right, I know they're still there, so they still work.
Looking at them.
But yeah, so it was, there was a lot of things going on, but we just stayed focused, and the guys stayed focused in the pits too. And it was nobody's fault on the last pit stop either. I guess it was an issue with our right rear wheel gun. And, these things happen. Like it's something that I told the guys. I said, hey, we had a great day in the pits. And we had a great day at the Indy GP in the pits. We were one of the fastest teams in the pits at the Indy GP. So, there's a lot of great stuff that's been going on with our team recently. And, we got set back a few positions, before the last restart and on the last, stint or two, just actually the last stint. But we went forward again. You know what I mean? On the last restart, we were able to pass Pagenaud, and realistically, if I think I had one more lap, I might have got Rossi as well for the top 5. But you also got to realize that sometimes there are just guys that are really fast, and I think that's why we were probably just a top 3 car. So I look back at it. I think I did everything I could have done. I think this race is so hard to win, and you do really have to get everything to go right. I mean, I spent a whole stint with Ericsson behind me, you know what I mean? And the guy wins the race. So it's one of those things where you're like, oh man, like maybe if we just would have cycled to the front, it would have been okay. Who knows? But yeah, there was a lot that went on that was exciting. I loved just being there. I loved having a chance at it. And that's what we do it for. We show up to the biggest race in the world, looking for a shot to win. And we had it. BitNile was their first Indy 500 as well, and they had an incredible time. And yeah, man, just pumped about it all, and pumped that it was a good race overall. I think it was tough to pass at times, but I think there was some overtaking. There were some good restarts. Santino Ferrucci hit me yet again on one of the restarts, which is fine. It is what it is. I noticed we did get a question about that later on in our Q&A segment, which I'll go into.
A few.
Yeah. But yeah, man, just a special feeling 2 years in a row to lead the race and be consistently getting better and, having my best finish there. It does feel good. It feels good.
Yeah. What a month for BitNile. What a month for the 20 ride. I mean, P5 at the GP, leading up front a bunch during the biggest race in the world, and then finishing P6. I know those guys got to be pumped and just looking to keep that momentum going, into Detroit. Is May such a one-off, not one-off, but it's such an event of its own, but the whole month, can that momentum keep riding into June as now we go Detroit, Road America, bang, 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 like we're really getting to the heat of it?
I think so. The month of May this year was the busiest month, I think, of my entire career. And I'm not sure if that was because we were kind of away from that for 3 years, but there was so much going on. And honestly, it's draining. Like, we wanted to do this show maybe on Tuesday, but I had no voice left. Like, I was literally, it's taken me a whole couple days to recover just to be able to speak. And that's just because we're constantly, talking about what's going on, doing interviews, doing media. And like, that's great. Like it's very important to do that. But yeah, it's wild to have to go racing, right afterwards. I had 4 people this week ask me, so do you go on vacation now? I was like, no, we have another race this weekend and then next weekend. And then I don't even think I have a weekend off until August. So it's, we have 5 races in July. We're going to get to the end of June very quickly and be right into July. But that's why we do it. This is the dream, is to be racing all the time. We were on the simulator yesterday in Charlotte. Even the Indy 500 champ, he posted on his story yesterday. He was on the simulator too. I mean, even the champ.
Sim selfie.
Yeah, even the champ gets back to work. So, that's awesome. So yeah, man, it's totally different in itself. It's It's something that I do believe the team thrives on. And I do believe we have a great chance to bring this momentum onto the next race for sure, because, I've been on the podium before in Detroit. Love the Detroit event. Renus was on the podium there last year, so we know we've got a decent car, and I'm excited for it. So we want to carry this. I feel great. We're moved up to 12th in the championship. We're kind of approaching the top 10 now, and we want to just keep hammering these top 10, top 5 finishes out, and hopefully start bringing home some trophies as well.
Most definitely, brother. Before we get to Detroit, there was some big news that dropped right after the biggest race in the world this week in the IndyCar world. And I guess it was big news just that it finally happened. I mean, if you followed or if you're in the know, really had any sense of the series of the sport, you knew this was coming. It was just a matter of when. But we get the announcement that young Kyle Kirkwood, right now for AJ Foyt Racing, is going to be taking over that 27 ride for Andretti Autosport next year. Currently the ride of Alexander Rossi. And now that leaves the announcement, the question kind of where we're going to see Rossi going in 2023 and beyond. So just what are your thoughts on the timing of the announcement, Kirkwood to Andretti, and then our pal Alex, what's next for him?
Well, literally before we started recording, I looked at my phone and Alex Simon McLaren. So now that's
oh, really? I haven't even seen it.
Oh yeah. Hot news right out the gate. But yeah, Kyle Kirkwood, we kind of all knew that was going to happen anyway. And Kyle Kirkwood's obviously a really, really talented young American driver. If you don't know him, definitely follow him. He's going to be doing a lot in the future. He's got a great position right now to learn all the tracks, get on the schedule. As a rookie, you want to be able to put a lot of laps under your belt before you get a really, really good chance with a top team like Andretti. So I think he's going to be in a great spot. And Alex obviously going to McLaren, a very interesting move. But McLaren is probably spending the most money of anyone in the sport right now, and they're doing a massive collaboration with their Formula One team. They've got a lot of resources to use. So it does seem like they would have the ability to pay Alex the right money and also give him a fresh start. I think there's a lot of drivers after a while, you kind of see them benefit from a fresh start. I think we saw it with Simon Pagenaud right out the gate too. You're thinking, Simon, why would you ever leave Penske? And honestly, he's done quite well, I think, so far with the Meyer Shank guys, and he knows Mike Shank well. And for sometimes a fresh start does benefit a driver, and I think that's what we're going to see with Alex. I think he is ready for something new. Although, he was very, very strong with Andretti. He's always going to be strong. But it is very interesting. I don't remember in my time in IndyCar where driver announcements were happening in June. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of excitement about the future. There's a lot more rumors around as well about who else is going to McLaren, who else might not go to McLaren, who's going to go elsewhere. Is there going to be openings at Ganassi? There's all kinds of rumors right now. My teammate Renus VK, there's big rumors around him too. He's a very, very talented guy, and I'm sure teams are after him. But I know Ed wants to keep him here with us. So there's going to be a lot as we go. And I always remember Mid-Ohio in July, or no, Mid-Ohio in it is July. That's usually kind of when things normally start getting talked about, but it seems to be earlier than normal, which is cool because that means there's a lot of excitement going around with the sport. But very happy for Kyle, very happy for Alex, and news in IndyCar is always good.
Yeah, that McLaren facility that they just announced that they're building up on the north side, that looks absolutely insane. Have you seen that?
Yeah, that's what they do though, right? I used to go to the McLaren factory when I lived in Europe. We did a lot of simulator work in their basement when I was working with the Force India Formula One team. And entering that facility is just one of the coolest things ever. And I remember when I was going there as a 18, 19-year-old, no cell phones allowed, no pictures. They've become a lot more okay with that now. But it was fascinating, going from compartment to compartment, the amount of trophies they have there in that McLaren facility in the UK. I have a feeling that they probably want to do something similar here in Indiana, which will be really cool. it's probably going to end up being a tourist site as well. You're going to see people come into town and say, hey, we want to go to the McLaren Visitor Center, you know what I mean, and check it out. So it's exciting news because everyone, you know, that means IndyCar is growing, and we need that. We need that to translate to our TV ratings, hopefully at some point. But it's definitely an exciting thing for our sport in general.
Now, as a driver, you're sitting in the car, you're in these team meetings, and this announcement's already happened. I mean, so for Alex, for Kyle, for their teams where they currently are, what is that like? Is it awkward? Is it, what can you describe it? What's the feeling like amongst the driver, the team, everything together when you already have knowing, hey, we're not even halfway through the season and I'm out next year?
You know, that is interesting. I haven't really thought about that before because I've never been in that position, but I know for a fact that, you know, the last couple races, if you only have a 1-year deal, the last couple races of your season are very much like I need to prove myself, or I need to, make sure that this team wants me back, or that the sponsor wants you back. But when you know your driver is leaving, you know, maybe it's like we're going to show him he made the wrong decision, and maybe they do great. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a really interesting dynamic. You know, I think Alex has been with those guys for so long. And, I know his engineer. I know like a lot of those guys on his crew. They've been close. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. I don't know what that is like, but I can tell.
Will they follow him to McLaren, or does it vary?
No, I don't think so. But you never know. We saw Roman Grosjean's engineer follow him from Coin to Andretti. So people do that. There are good relationships that are transferred. But in this case, with two powerhouse teams, I don't think Andretti is going to want to let Alex's engineer go. And, you know, they'll probably, you know, hopefully they'll pay him respectfully to stay there. So it's going to be interesting. I think Kyle's in a different spot. I mean, Foyt there's a great group of people there, and I like those guys a lot. I actually, after qualifying at Indy, we all went out and had a nice cold beverage together, me, Kyle, and his crew, and they're great people. But I think they know they're not at that Andretti level, right? Like, it's just kind of one of those things. And so for Kyle, I'm sure those guys are just going to be, you know, wanting to send him off correctly, right? Like, I think he's been very cool to those guys. He spent a lot of time with them, and Kyle. The only thing with Kyle now is there is pressure on him, right? I think they could have announced this a lot earlier. Like, everyone thought this was going to be announced in Long Beach, or that was the rumor that I heard. But I think they kind of delayed that because Kyle wanted to be just looked at like a Foyt driver, right? Like, he not like a future Andretti driver. You know, he let Kyle be a Foyt driver, let him learn as a rookie. And then, you know, now it's like, all right, he's an Andretti driver, so everyone's going to be looking at him like, well, you know, Kyle's driving for Andretti next year. How's he doing this year? You know what I mean? So I think he doesn't worry about that. I hope he doesn't, because I think he's very, very good. And I've told him, I was like, bro, you're going to be very, very talented. You are very talented. But yeah, it does produce an interesting dynamic for the team.
Man, looking ahead to next year, though, McLaren, if you're looking at Pato O'Ward, who just signed an extension in May, Alex Rossi going over there, rumors of a third car going. I mean, they've been very strong all year with Pato and with Felix, and how Juan Pablo did and at the 500, and then now they're bringing over, you know, the last American driver to win the 500 with Alex, and you know, a guy who's obviously very successful and talented, and that's quite the haul there, man. It's quite a team shaping up in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, McLaren's doing it big. You see it in their hospitality units. You see it in their entertainment villages that they set up at every race.
Literally a village, yeah.
Yeah. It's a small village that they set up where you can go and hang out and with all your closest wealthy friends. But it's pretty cool to see. I mean, you know, what's funny is like I did drive for that team right before kind of the whole. You know, there was a lot of that still. You know, 2019. You know, I was called in to replace Marcus Ericsson for one race because he had to be a Formula One reserve driver. And it's an impressive group. I actually really like a lot of those guys. There's a few of those crew chiefs I've worked with before. You know, Taylor Kyle, who's running that team. And there's a lot of great people there. And I actually am not surprised at all that they're that fast. You know what I mean? And they're that good. The pit crews put in an insane amount of work. They do such a good job. And I think they're going to be, you know, they're going to be the big powerhouse to deal with over the next couple of years, especially, you know, if they move to 3 full-time cars with 3 powerhouse drivers, you know, that's going to be big. So there's a lot going on in IndyCar, and I think it's exciting because when you say you're out there battling against McLaren and guys that, you know, are very, very good drivers, and they have high level business partnerships, they do an incredible job with social media content. They do an incredible job entertaining people. You know, I think that's special. It's special to have them in the paddock.
Do you think this addition of Rossi to McLaren, the possible 3rd car to McLaren, well, they want to do 3 full, but just who the driver is, do you think that has Penske kind of, should we add 4? Should we just focus on these 3 and make them as best as we can?
I don't know, actually. I mean, you know, some of those guys at Penske, I mean, you know, Joseph's going to be there forever. I mean, I'm sure Scott's going to be there forever. Will still has some time on his deal for sure. And Will's very, very talented. But yeah, I mean, Penske right now, especially after the month of May, I mean, I was very surprised by Penske. I'm not going to lie. Like, you expect Penske to come there and be one of the best. And
that was all the big talk.
Yeah, and they've struggled. Yeah, they've struggled. I mean, I think anyone who has ever seen the sport, you expect Penske to be up front, and it was a tough battle for them on Sunday. So, you know, I think it's going to be very interesting what the next steps are for them. We obviously know they're going to rebound strong. They're probably going to win the next 5 races. Who knows? But it's you know, it's definitely interesting to see what their next moves might be. It's actually interesting to see what all the teams' next moves are. You know, what does Ganassi do? What does Andretti do with Kyle? Do they move other people around? You know, they've got Grosjean now as well. So, you know, it's an interesting time in IndyCar, but I think it's a very strong time to be in the sport. And, you know, our goal is to just make sure people are watching this thing. I mean, we got to get people to engage with our sport. We don't have a Netflix show. We don't have, you know, the biggest money bag in the woods that we can spend on marketing and stuff like that. So it's kind of up to us to make sure we tell people, hey, we're racing every weekend almost. And this weekend, we're on the USA Network. So that'll be interesting, and we got to make sure people know that.
That's right. Yeah. Been on the big NBC, the Big Bird, all the races so far. This is the first one on USA coming up on Sunday, 3:30 at Detroit. Now let's get to Detroit. I feel like a lot of drivers, am I wrong? I feel like I hear a lot of drivers talk pretty highly about Detroit, or at least that it's very physical. What's your thoughts on Detroit? What can we expect this weekend?
Yeah, so Detroit is without a doubt one of the physically most difficult tracks that we've got because it's very, very bumpy. You know, it's on the Belle Isle Park, just on the river there between America and Canada, and so we're on the free side. We're on American side, obviously, and it's you know, it's a great track. I've really enjoyed going there in the past. It's got a very interesting mix of high speed corners and very, very low speed bumpy corners. We've seen some wild internet laps there in the past. You know, I'll never forget Juan Pablo Montoya there in like 2001 or 2, you know, setting a pole lap and also slapping the outside wall in the last corner, but still finishing the lap strong. So there's a lot of really cool moments that have happened at this track. But yeah, it's super bumpy. You know, last year we had Felix Rosenquist have a throttle stick and he nearly ended up in the sea. Like, it was huge, massive accident there. So there's, you know, a lot that happens there, but it's a great crowd as well. We love going up to Detroit. It's Chevy's home race. And that means that, you know, Chevy wants us to win. So we gotta get up there and perform for those guys. But it's an interesting race. If you let's say you watch your first IndyCar race and that was the Indy 500, well, let's follow it up with Detroit because it's definitely that's our bread and butter almost, the Indy 500, right? But Detroit that's where most of our races are, street and road courses. So you can get a great idea for what we've got going on there. And it's, you know, it's going to be an entertaining race. There's going to be some beating and banging. There's going to be some wheel-to-wheel contact. There's going to be some people, you know, making fuel strategies work. But somehow we're all going to get there at the end and probably put on a great show.
Yeah, we're coming full circle, too, for the current Indy 500 champ and Marcus Ericsson. I mean, gets his first IndyCar victory last year in Detroit. Then we see him go literally Marcus Ericsson in Nashville a couple months later, get his second win. And then now here we come, calendar year later, and he's got a Indy 500 title under his belt, which is, what a run. What a run for the Swedish driver there, man. It's been incredible. Yeah, so we'll see if he can repeat in Detroit this weekend. We do have a fill-in driver this weekend. Santino Ferrucci going to be back out there on the track, filling in for Callum Ilott. He hit the wall in turn 2 like a bunch of other people did on Sunday at the IMS and broke his wrist. So he's not going to be able to participate. And you got old Ferrucci making his way to Detroit. Any thoughts on a fill-in driver again? I mean, this is the second time he's done it this year.
Well, I think my first thought is that it was going to be Ryan Hunter-Reay in that seat because Ryan Hunter-Reay has been working a lot with with Callum there and the Juncos team on trying to help those guys. But apparently, Ryan is also a Ganassi reserve driver. So I don't know if there was any hey Ryan, sorry, we're not going to let you do that, or what happened there. But I told Santino over the weekend at my after party, I said, look, man, I don't like you at all. But
he was there again?
Yeah, he was there again. He showed up to the after party. But
wow.
I you know what? I said, but I think you're a talented driver. And so like that's, my beef with Santino is really how he interacts with people on track. And I think it's quite dangerous at times, but I do think he's a very talented driver. Like
what was his response?
Well, he said, I respect that. And that's all. So I was like, all right. And, there were several moments where some of his boys and some of my boys, I thought were going to get in a fist fight in the bathroom, but it is what it is. We, in the end, we settled things. But yeah, it doesn't change how I feel, but I do think he's a talented driver. And yeah, he's probably going to be the right guy to put in that seat. He raced there last year with Ray Hall. And it's a shame for Callum because I like Callum a lot. He's a very, very talented driver. He's had a lot of good stuff go on so far, with that team. But yeah, man, it'll be very curious. I'll be very curious to see how that goes. And I don't know who else would have been, someone you put in, but yeah, it'll be very, very interesting.
I'm sorry that I didn't make it to your after party on Sunday. I got a pregnant wife at home and she, I just couldn't, the South Meridian NV scene was not a good scene for me to be at with a pregnant lady waiting for me. So I had to camp it in this year. Yeah.
That's all right.
I knew that there was plenty of community to go around there, so I wasn't that missed, but I wanted to let you know that I would have been there with y'all, but life gets in the way. But do you think, going back to Santino, do you think that he should have a full-time ride?
That's a great question. I mean, technically, if you were to, just go off of results based, yeah, I think there's I think he's done and this is hard for me to talk about and say because I don't really like talking about him, but yeah, I mean, he's done a great job in the races that he's been in. I think he's got very lucky in a lot of scenarios, but that's part of what we do. So that's part of the sport. So yeah, we'll see.
Just a question I had to ask, my man. Just a question I had to ask.
No, I mean we'll have to see what happens as as things continue. But he shows up every time and seems to be finishing and finishing well. So again, talented driver.
Leave it at that. Talented driver. Got it. Okay, we talked about Detroit. We talked about the 500 weekend. Detroit's coming up. 500's in the books. You want to get to some audience questions?
Sure. Yeah, we can talk about. We can also talk about how after parties for the Indy 500 are great. And I would like to mention a quick thank you to Scott McLaughlin and Kyle Kirkwood for coming out into the streets of Indianapolis on Sunday night after the race. I think we had a great time. And just so everyone knows, yes, we do have a great time after IndyCar races, especially the Indy 500, because we put our lives on the line all month long. And then guess what? We had a great time with all of our friends, brought about 40 people there to a nightclub in Indianapolis called Envy. And just know that We celebrated appropriately, and we commiserated. Well, Scott was commiserating his day, and it was a hilarious time. Joey, wish you could have been there. I danced around with a man dressed as a transformer in the floor of a nightclub, and it was, very, very funny. So that covers our Indy 500 after party segment.
I do want to, now that you say it, so let me fill you in. I met Danica Patrick on Sunday night after the race.
Wow.
Very
Did you
cool.
get invited to Marco Andretti's dinner and I didn't?
No.
Okay.
No, I got stiffed by Marco.
Oh.
But so I'm taking my boy Marcus Bailey, former Purdue star, plays for the Cincinnati Bengals now. I'm taking him downtown to Bottle Works to meet up with Ben Polizzi. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take you there.
That's where the official after party was. That's where the rich people after party was.
Right. So that's it. That's what I'm getting to. I had no idea. So I'm taking Marcus there to drop him off to meet Ben Polizzi. Then I'm like, hey, I'm going back to the RV, getting, laying in bed with my wife and taking care of her. So I drop Marcus off. Then across the street, I see young Colton Herta and his young lady. So I'm like, I just shot him a text because, I don't know, they looked like they were sitting on the curb. It was like they needed a ride or something. So I was like, hey, man, saw you sitting across there. Need anything, let me know. He gives me a call about 2 seconds later. He's like, bro, where are you? And I said, oh, well, I'm right here. So I go and I talk with him and Riley, and then I'm like, let's go have a beer. So I'm like, yeah, just thinking one beer. Go get a beer with him and Riley at Bottle Works. Then all of a sudden he's like, hey, Scott Dixon's after party is across the street. You want to come? I'm like, I don't know. I'm pretty underdressed. I don't really, what's going on? This is a crazy rich person Scott Dixon party. He's like, bro, no, just come. I'm like, okay. So I go in there, and all of a sudden, on a night that was just supposed to drop off Marcus Bailey and then go back to the RV, I find myself, talking with Danica Patrick and James Hinchcliffe for 10 minutes, and then I'm like, all right, I really need to get out of here. But that was it. It was not a late night. It was one of those weird coincidence type things that happened. I was back home by like 11 or 11:30.
For those new listeners as well, the way the IndyCar community works is that I set up an after party. And everyone knows about it, and they refuse to go because they think it's going to be some sort of child's play facility, or like we're going to be, I don't know, in the streets doing warfare. Like, I don't know what they think it is, but we just like to go and buy bottles and have a nice time. Whereas they set up some party at a nice restaurant where they all sit around and basically just, I don't know, cheers some nice little glasses with each other, and they're done by 11:30. Whereas, I don't know, I always tell them, I said, hey, you guys don't even have to pay for anything. I'll pay for things for you guys because I just like to celebrate with my community. Turns out I'm just like judged as like he's just the guy who's having, a poor people party. Whereas we had Dead Mouse at our party. We had Josh Richards at our party. We had all these incredible people that were there, other drivers that actually care about the streets and the folks of Indianapolis.
Yeah, I mean, Santino Ferrucci was there. Shit.
Santino Ferrucci was there. There was almost a fist fight. I mean, that's the type of energy we need after the Indy 500. I'm not going to go around and sit on a nice chair with my friends and talk about, the stock market that's going to open tomorrow. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go out.
Stock market's closed on Memorial Day, bro.
Exactly. That's why we're not talking about it. We're going straight to the streets. So,
to be
that's how I feel about it.
Hold on. You're right to feel that way. And I told you, if I didn't have a pregnant wife, I would have been at Envy tearing down the town with you to celebrate a nice weekend, a great month, just like I was last year. Okay. Yes. My situation was coincidental, and you're right. And to be fair to the people that were at the Scott Dixon thing, all those people are like 46 years old. Scott Dixon, Jimmy Johnson, their wives, Tony Kanaan was there. Dario Franchitti was there. Marco's basically 40 already. Those are all old. You don't want those people at your party anyways.
Yes, I do. My last text to Jimmy Johnson was at 2 a.m. I said, I thought we were friends. 2:23 a.m, I text Jimmy Johnson. I actually know. I text him at 12:04 a.m. I said, Jim, I have spent $1,000 on liquor in 30 minutes. There's a wild amount of activities going on here. Then 2:23 a.m., I thought we were friends. That was it. So you know what? I thought, it's fine. They can do whatever they want to do. Danica did ask me before we left the track. She said, hey, great job. What are we doing tonight? I said, I got the after party. Come on. And I just kept driving on my golf cart. So the people knew. But
I did get introduced to Danica by Jimmy Hinchcliffe, and I was like, look, this is going to sound bad no matter how I say it, but I just want you to know that when I was in like 6th grade, you were the biggest deal ever at our school. And, and James goes, yeah, I shouldn't have said that, bud.
Yeah. That's a tough look, Joey. That's a tough look.
No, but she was great. She understood. I was like, look, no, you're phenomenal, but like, it just is what it is. Like when I was like 12, you were in like your first 500 and it was like the biggest thing in the world. So that's
This is new racing analyst Joey Mulinaro here. He's just, getting the fanboy out, and then now we're good.
That's right. Exactly. You only get to meet Danica Patrick probably once at Scott Dixon's after party. So, all right, that's it. That's the after party discussion. Next year I will have a son and I will come, but that's next year. All right, let's get to some listener questions here. We'll start on Instagram. Okay, we'll start with this one. This is from Anthony Abernathy 43. First time listener. Welcome, Anthony. Thanks for being here. How exactly did you and Conor, become friends? So I'll start.
Yeah, go for it.
So Conor grew up like loosely racing and knowing my now brother-in-law and my father-in-law, and my wife, because they're a racing family. Conor grew up racing in like the karting world and everything. So, and then obviously just like Conor is an Indy guy, I'm an Indy guy. And through those two things come together, and then once like I wasn't just like a putz who worked at the local radio station and I was actually maybe considered like cool by people, then it was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. We both like to have a good time. We're both Indy boys. And we got to stick together. That was always kind of my thing. And so that's just kind of how it grew from there.
Yeah, and I knew, you also obviously worked for Pat McAfee as well, who's a friend of ours, and I obviously interacted with him as well. So yeah, there was kind of a lot of interacting angles, and always knew of you, right? And we always knew of each other, and so yeah, it was good to get together here.
From Samuel Dave, thoughts on local blackout of the 500 in Indianapolis?
It's a big topic. That's a big topic right now because our ratings were down like, several 100,000, if not 1 million people from the year before when it was not blacked out. And here's my thought on it. I don't think you would have less people show up if it was not blacked out. I truly believe that the people that are coming to the Indy 500 are coming to the Indy 500. It doesn't matter if they're not going to be like, well, I'm actually not going to go to this life-changing experience because I can watch it on my couch. It's like, no. But what you do give the opportunity to is get basically your biggest audience to boost your TV numbers. You know what I mean? Like it's just, for me, I don't get it. I don't understand the business model. I would have to ask my stepdad on that. But it's definitely a shame because I think right now in an area where we really need help, which is TV ratings, the race almost sold out, and I wish they would have been like, you know what, guys, all right, we all can still watch it, because think of how many bars in Indianapolis would have the race on, literally every single one.
Every one of them.
Think of how many restaurants, how many people on the north side who are just staying up north or on the green south side of Indianapolis. Like there's such a large community. Like, yes, we have 400,000 people in that area of Speedway for the entire day, but also there's still other people. So I don't know. I don't like the blackout. I would love to test that theory of like, hey, let's sell as many tickets as possible. And then maybe the last minute be like, all right, well, we're going to still let you watch it on TV, because I just don't know if we have the marketing power right now to basically get all the other people that we need to watch the race. And also our fans in Indiana are pretty loyal, and the people of Indiana are very loyal to their, to their sport. And that's a huge market for us. So that's kind of my opinion on it. I'm sure there's a lot more details to it that I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah. So I look at it like, okay, with the Indianapolis Colts, right? There's at least eight home games to where you can work to your schedule, save up, make that experience happen. You have 8 opportunities in a 4-month span to do that. You get one Indianapolis 500 a year. One. So like you said, the people who are coming are going to go, because if you're looking at like an NFL experience like that, sure, you want to go to one, right? Okay, cool. And then watch it from home. Yeah, much easier, traffic, weekend, whatever, blah, blah, blah. With the Indy 500, like you said, once you go there, the event on TV is, NBC does a great job. Lee Diffie, Hinch, Townsend Bell, love those guys. Kevin Smith, or Kevin Lee, Marty Snyder, all those guys. Danica, all do a great job. But it just, once you've been there in a full environment, experience like it was on Sunday, no TV experience will ever match that full day experience on Memorial Day weekend that you get at the Indianapolis 500. So what I'm saying is, you get that 8 or 9 chances with the NFL, right, where you can configure it with your schedule. You don't get that with the Indianapolis 500. It's one or done. You got to be there, rain, sleet, snow, shine, delayed, whatever. So yeah, man, I'm kind of with you on that. It is interesting to look at the TV ratings. I just don't really understand. I guess it's just because I'm too far on the other side, right? Where it's like, how are people not watching this? How are people not engaged with this? How are people not following along with this? And it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and we look at, obviously, that there's, the Indy 500 was obviously the most watched race over the weekend, right? Above NASCAR, above Formula One. But also, like, where are the million people that watch the Formula One race? Where are the 2 million people that watch, like, the NASCAR race too? Why are we not all watching those? You know what I mean? Or, like, I understand that Formula One is still very new and it was very early in the morning on Sunday. But like, there's got to be an intersecting point where I think fans can appreciate both. Like, the thing that I was actually very interested in right after the Indy 500 is I was like, oh, the Coke 600 starting. Like, I can't wait to watch that. You know what I mean? I mean, it went on for about 14 hours, but like, I had it on at the house when I was getting ready to go to dinner. We had it on at the bar while we were having dinner. And then we had it on after that at the next bar. You know what I mean? So like, it's something that I don't know why we can't have more crossover fan bases, because, a rising tide raises all ships, as they say, or whatever. But like, what makes a fan not want to watch all of them? You know what I mean? I'm still very curious to see, because I like motorsport. Obviously, I participate in it. And I've been on all 3 sides. I've been on the Formula One side. I've driven a Formula One car. I've raced in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, raced in the Truck Series, raced in the IndyCar Series. Like, I like it all. And like, I feel like there's different things you can appreciate out of all of them. So I still think there's something missing, and I don't know what it is, but hopefully we can kind of get more of those. The 2 million people that watched the Coke 600, why wasn't it, 2 million people that also wanted to tune into the Indy 500? Not sure.
Yeah. And there was a note I saw at Nathan Brown on Indy Star saying that just collectively TV viewership was down on Sunday from last year. So maybe it was just Memorial Day weekend, weather, people were out. I don't know. It's an interesting mystery. But you're talking about the Coca-Cola 600. Hunter J. Carper says, congrats on the Dirty Mo deal. And Conor, to you, P6 and the Indy 500. And then you want to know, would you ever have interest in running the double Indy 500, Coca-Cola 600?
I think I need to prove myself a little bit more on what I do first. I need to win the Indy 500 first, or win some IndyCar championships or whatever it is, before anyone's going to take me seriously in that. But we're definitely thinking about doing a double, the IndyCar race at the road race in August here, and the NASCAR, the double weekend there is definitely interesting. The IndyCar race is on Saturday. The Cup race is on Sunday at the Indy GP circuit. That there has been some interest there. I'm definitely trying to look into that because no one's done that before. And I'm obviously a road racer at heart. So definitely have an interest in that. I know several of the Cup teams, have talked to them before. I had a great chat with Justin Marks the other day. He was at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Justin Marks Justin Marks is one of the smartest guys, I think, in the sport right now. And he's got that Project 91 deal that they just announced, which we didn't actually talk about much yet, but they got Kimi Räikkönen driving in the Cup Series at some point, and that's awesome. Like, smartest move, I think, they could make. If you're going to run an extra car, he's got a strong 2-car team. Why not maybe dabble in a third and call it something cool and get one of the most famous racing drivers of all time to go there? Massive kudos to them. So there's a lot of ideas in, buzzing around the head.
Nice. That would be awesome. That's coming up. Yeah. Just a little over 2 months back in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Looking forward to that. From Tyler_Snyder, what is y'all's favorite pizza in Indy?
Oh, favorite pizza in Indy is King Dough. King Dough is on the east side of town. Best pizza I think I've ever had in my life, and I lived in Italy, so like I love. It's incredible.
Still have yet to have King Dough. Got to make that happen this summer. Is Goodfellas a chain?
Oh, I don't know, but it's very delicious.
I guess that's always my go-to, and I'm just like, you know what? I need not one of your traditional like Domino's, Donato's, Papa John's. Like, go give me Goodfellas. That's what I rip as well. I mean, Basbo's obviously is very good. Mass Ave, enjoy that as well. You ever been there?
Oh yeah, I have. Long time ago, but it's very delicious.
From WD Creator, what happened on the last pit stop? Seemed like the right rear tire took some time to get on.
Yeah, so I think they had an issue with the gun, the wheel gun, and the Indy 500 is tough because that's the race where we make the most pit stops of any race. So sometimes things happen. Wasn't anyone's fault. Sometimes these things happen, and small technical issue with the gun and or the gun or the wheel nut, something like that. And just held us up a little bit, but overall, the guys actually did a great job to identify it and get the tire on, as quick as they did.
Couple more here from Melissa Going. What was Joey's favorite part or memory of the month of May this year? Jeez, I posted on Facebook and on Instagram.
You might have been busier than me at times.
Man, it was, just one of the best months of my life. Just a total dream, unreal. To Yellow Line Productions, to Evan Cox, to Quack Daddy Donuts, and Mount Comfort RV. So many people helped make my month and my family's month and my friend's month so memorable and just incredible. I really can't nail one down. It was all just a dream to be able to have guys come by the bus and chat and be able to have interesting conversations with people like Pato Award and Simon Pagino and Alexander Rossi and just so incredible. And I can't wait until next year. So, I can't, just the whole month itself was just the best. I'm already sad it was over for sure. Last one. Let's do 2 more here from Scott.Scheimer. Whose fault was the contact between Conor and Ferrucci, and why was it Santino's?
Well, I've been trying to post an onboard video for the last couple of days on Instagram, and for some reason, Instagram is not allowing me to do so. But I have the onboard of me passing Santino, and I'm not really sure why he hit me, but it was one of those things that I think we were both trying to stay in the draft, and I was never going to lift. And I was, going to be past him by the corner, but it just looks like he kind of just drove into the side of me. And it was very, very similar to him in practice with David Malukas. Like he kind of just drove into the side of David Malukas and cut his tire. So I don't really know what the point of that was. Again, like why make contact if you don't need it, especially like that early in the race. But yeah, it was a surprising thing for me because I turned in flat and I was like, well, I hope he didn't cut my tire like David Malukas' incident on Carb Day. So yeah, just an odd deal. Not sure why that was necessary, but again, I told him, I said he's a talented driver. I just wish he wasn't on the verge of putting people in the wall so many times.
So you talked to him about it at the after party or after the race?
No, I tried to say as few words as possible.
Gotcha. What in that moment when you're in the car, how difficult is it for you to not? I guess it's not that difficult because you want to win the race, not get involved with stupid shit like that. But are you pissed? Are you like wanting to get back at him? What's going through your head?
Well, at the time, you're just kind of worried about your car, right? The car has to be perfect to battle at the front, and you're just worried was there any damage? And thankfully, there wasn't. So. It's tough when you make contact, but these Indy cars are tough. I will give them that. And there is a little bit of wheel-to-wheel rubbing that goes on, and thankfully we can get through it.
All right, last one here from Michael_Bunge. What's your first irresponsible purchase if $3.1 million lands in your bank account overnight, like Marcus Ericsson?
Oh, man, big purse boost from Roger Penske for the Indy 500.
Oh, yeah.
3.1 million. I don't know. I mean, the funny thing about that is people usually don't know that there's leader circle money taken out of that. So it ends up being probably split in half. Team usually takes half depending on who's negotiating contracts. So it's really not that much. It probably ends up being, less than $1.5 million, but still that's a lot. And I don't know what I would irresponsibly purchase, but probably a supercar of some kind. I would love to buy we're Chevy guys, but sign me up for a Lamborghini. I want to buy one of those suckers, sell my inflatable hot tub, and get get maybe a real hot tub.
Dude, that hot tub's a collector's item now. Like I guarantee you can put that on the market, and some IndyCar, just wild fan, passionate fan would be like, yeah, I'll put that in my collection. What a story that would be.
My idea was to just sell it for charity. Like, I'm going to be like, look, it's in a box right now. It still needs to be cleaned, but it does work. I will sell it to whoever we want, and I will donate that money to any diabetes charity out there. So if you think that's a good idea, let me know.
Man, people love that. I would say my first irresponsible, but actually now I think about it, I don't even think it would be that irresponsible. I think it'd be very responsible, but it would just be kind of like a big purchase. I'd go straight to Mount Comfort RV after this month, and I'd just buy a big old honking fancy bus for me and my family, so we could go wherever we want with it. Pittsburgh, IndyCar races, anything like that. I would, I'd lay an old Millie down at Mount Comfort RV and get me one of those fancy buses that Conor and Colton Herta and all those guys have, because what a way to live, man. That thing's incredible.
Love that.
Yeah. All right. You want to do, let's wrap up here with for those who don't know, for those who are new, still with us, thank you. We love it. We do a segment. We talked about it. Conor talked about it on the Dale Jr. Download. We've been doing it for 30 episodes now. The Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. It goes full year round, even though the month of May is over. It don't matter. We do it each and every week to wrap up the show. Last week we had Spider Webb from the 1954 Indy 500. So you just don't know what you're going to find. Conor, do we have one?
Oh yeah. And also, I will let people know we didn't get much into Monaco Formula One. We didn't get much into the Coke 600, but the Indy 500 is that's a big one, and there was a lot to talk about there. I know that there was a lot that went on with Formula One in Monaco. We had Sergio Perez win, which was awesome. And we had the Coke 600, which was, as we talked about, very long race, but it seemed to be a pretty entertaining race from what I saw. But yeah, we do cover a lot more motorsport, but for now, we were dedicated to just getting the people a new episode, talking about the Indy 500, all the details on it. And yes, we do have the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. We went even deeper. We went very, very, very old. And we went to the 1940 International 500, which was the Indy 500, but looks like it was called something slightly different on the internet. But I found a man that deserves some respect, it looks like, because I've never heard this name before. There's a lot of people in this race that I could be a prime random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. But we're going to go with Tommy Hintershitz. Tommy Hintershitz finished 32nd in the race. And I'll read you up on, he was born Thomas Paul Hintershitz on a farm near Ole, Pennsylvania. He was a farmer on the weekdays and raced on the weekends. Married Betty Selman in 1935. Hintershitz began racing in 1930 with a 1914 Model T at Reading Fairgrounds. That car cost him $25.
Hey now, big spender.
Man, Hintershitz was a spender, huh? He earned $75 for the victory. That's big money. Big money.
Good ROI.
Yeah, great ROI. So yeah, he was nicknamed the Flying Dutchman, the Flying Farmer, and Ole Dirt Farmer. So I respect that. Hintershitz was inducted into the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame in 1975.
Hey, good for
There you
you,
go.
old Henner Schnitz. Swift
Oh,
shits.
Hintershits.
That's what I'd call them.
It's not Schnitz. It literally is Hintershits with a Z.
Yep.
So,
Shitz.
yep. That's our guy, Tommy Hinterschnitz, for this week. He
I
finished
wonder.
32nd in the 1940 Indy 500. Looks like he had a crash.
Yep. I wonder if if FCC regulations would allow, if they called him, if like Lee Diffie was calling him like Swift Shits, like I wonder if they would allow him to say that since it's Shitz and it's the end of his last name. That would
Yeah,
be
I don't
interesting.
know. How does that work with the? We'd have to ask NBC on that. We'd have to ask if his name was cleared for use.
And here comes Swift Shits.
That's his nickname.
That's awesome, man. All right, good deal. Ricky Treadway, random Indy 500 driver of the week. That's it. This has been our first show under the Dirty Mo media family, under their umbrella. We're so psyched to be here. Thanks to Dale Jr. and Mike Davis for bringing us aboard. Thanks for producer Ben for taking care of us as always. We'll be once a week. We'll be talking all things motorsport. Like we said, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. The YouTube version should be up. I don't know if it'll be up. I haven't decided. I don't know. We haven't talked about that yet. If it'll be up on my channel or Dirty Mo or whatever it is. But be sure to follow us at Speed Street Pod on Instagram, on Twitter. We're continuing to grow that. Tell a friend, be a friend, tell a friend that IndyCar is racing this weekend in Detroit. That's right. There's another race besides the Indy 500, and it's coming up this weekend on USA, national TV, 3:30 on Sunday, full weekend of events. Conor's going to be trying to carry that momentum, continuing to carry that momentum from the month of May into the rest of the season. We're in full swing now, baby, so be sure to hang here with us. Let's keep growing this into a neighborhood. Conor, you got anything else?
Only that we appreciate this relationship now. It's very, very exciting. A lot of incredible words from the Dale Jr. Download podcast the other day. And also, honestly, got to listen to that interview with Jeremy Mayfield. That was one of the most fascinating interviews I think I've listened to so far. I got like 4 different text messages from a lot of our friends in the IndyCar world who were listening to that as well. So appreciate Dale and Mike and everyone over there. So we're going to have a lot of cool stuff coming up here and a lot to talk about when it comes to motorsport. And yeah, we appreciate it. And obviously a lot of after party chatter as well.
That's what's important there, baby. All right. Until next week, we'll talk to you on Speed Street.